Hello dear students of class 6. Today I am going to teach you chapter number 16 from the book The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Chapter number 16, Widow Douglas's Party. So let's start. It seemed quite late when Tom and Huck took Dan Smith's boat back to its place near the village. Now, Huck, said Tom, we will hide the money in the roof space above the Welshman's wood store, and I will come up in the morning, and we will count and divide. Then we will find a place out in the forest where it will be safe. Just lie quietly here and watch the bags while I run and get Benny Taylor's little handcart. He disappeared and came back with the cart. The bags of money were soon on the cart, covered with some old pieces of cloth, and Tom started pulling the handcart behind him. When the boys reached the Welshman's fence, they stopped to rest. They were just going to move on towards the wood store when Mr. Jones, the Welshman, came out of his house. Hello, he said. Who's that? Huck and Tom Sawyer. Good. Come along with me, boys. Everybody is waiting. And he took the handcart and led them to Widow Douglas's house. He left the handcart at the door and pushed Huck and Tom into the widow's sitting room. Everybody important was there. The Thatchers, the Harpers, the Rogerses, Aunt Polly with Sid and Mary, the minister, and a number of others, all wearing their best clothes. The widow received the two boys very kindly. It didn't seem to matter to her that they were covered with dirt from the cave and candle drippings, but Aunt Polly's face was very red as he looked at Tom's clothes. Come with me, the widow said, and she led the boys to a bedroom and said, now wash and dress yourselves. Here are two new suits of clothes, shirts, everything. They are Huck's. No, don't thank me, Huck. Mr. Jones bought one and I bought the other. But they will fit both of you. Get into them. We will wait. Come down when you are ready. Then she left the room. Huck said, Tom, we can get away if we can find a rope. The window isn't very high up. Why do you want to get away? I can't go into a crowd like that, Tom. I'm not going down there. I will take care of you, said Tom, who had seen all sorts of cakes and ice cream in the sitting room. Sid appeared. What's all this party about, Sid? Tom asked. It's one of the widow's parties that she often has. This time it's for the Welshman and his sons because they saved her from trouble that night. Well, there is not much harm in that, said Tom, and he led the way down. Huck followed very unwillingly. After supper, Mr. Jones stood up. He thanked Mrs. Douglas for the honor she had done him and his sons. But there is another person here who did more that night to prevent a terrible crime, the Welshman said, and he told the part that Huckleberry Finn had played that night. The widow spoke too about Huck's brave actions. Huck almost forgot the great discomfort of his new clothes in the greater discomfort of being stared at and thanked by everybody. The widow said, I want to give Huck a home here and have him well educated. Then, when that time comes, I hope I will have enough money to start him in a business. It was then that Tom said, that part of it won't be necessary. Huck won't need the money. Huck is rich. Nobody laughed, but that was because they all had good manners. But there was a rather uncomfortable silence. I will just have to show you, Tom said. He ran out and came back carrying with difficulty the bags of money. There, he said, half of it's Huck's and half of it's mine. Nobody spoke for a moment. Then everyone asked for an explanation. Tom said he would explain, and he did explain. The story was a long one, but full of interest. There was hardly another sound. There was hardly another sound while Tom was telling it. The money was counted. There was just over $12,000. It was more than anybody in the room had ever seen at one time before. Now, I am going to discuss about the question answer of this chapter. Chapter 16, question number 1. What was on the hand cart? And the answer is, when Tom and Huck reached the village, Tom suggested that they would hide the money in the roof space above the Welshman's wood store, and they would count and divide the money in the morning. Then Tom disappeared and came back with Benny Taylor's little handcart. The bags of money were soon on the handcart, covered with some old pieces of cloth. Question number 2. Where were all the important people? And the answer is, after taking rest, when Tom and Huck were just going to move on towards the wood store, Mr. Jones, the Welshman, came out and told them to go along with him, and he led them to Widow Douglas's house. In Widow Douglas's house, all the important people were present. The Thatchers, the Harpers, the Rogerses, Aunt Polly with Sid and Mary, the minister, and a number of others, all wearing their best clothes. Question number 3. Why did Huck want to find a rope? And the answer is, In Widow Douglas's house, Tom and Huck were made to go upstairs, wash and put on suits. They felt uneasy. Huck wanted to get away, so he wanted to find a rope. When Tom asked the reason, Huck told him that he couldn't go into a crowd like that, and so he didn't want to go down there. Question number 4. Who wanted to give Huck a home? And the answer is, in the party at Widow Douglas's house, the Welshman told the part that Huck had played to prevent a terrible crime. The widow spoke too about Huck's brave actions. After that, Widow Douglas said that she wanted to give Huck a home there and have him well educated. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.